In Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw, Eliza Doolittle tricks London's social elite into believing she's genteel, in order to move up the social ladder and take advantage of England's arbitrary class distinctions. When her deception succeeds, however, Eliza realizes that she had deceived herself as well. What she thought would be a simple change to the way she spoke ended up altering her perception of not only herself, but the world around her. Through Eliza, Shaw demonstrates that even affecting a different personality irrevocably changes how one thinks and acts.
Hello, Eliza. I hope you've been doing well. Have you been using the tactics I taught you last time?
Yes. It's just been strange living in such a different world.
And how is the flower shop going?
It's going well.
And have you been keeping up with your diary, like I asked?
Yes. 4 years and 8 months ago, I encountered a peculiar man by the name of Higgins. His mannerisms gave him away as one of those upper-class snobs, merely seconds after we first met. But he promised me a future I didn't dare dream of. Lavish parties, fancy dresses, and servants to care for my every need. All of it could be mine, if only I changed one thing about myself, the way I spoke. He bought and paid for me, giving my father £5 for the time he spent tutoring me, and he trained me in duplicitous ways. He taught me to trick London's social elite into believing I, like they, had been born into the upper class. But it wasn't as simple as changing how I spoke. I also had to change what I said. But Higgins, who was born into the upper class, could say whatever he wanted and still get away with it. So in the process of making myself upper class, I had to change who I was, and only talk about trivial things like the weather and people's health. I didn't realize until too late that I had deceived myself as well. I had believed I'd be changing just one small detail about myself, and instead I altered the way I viewed the whole world. And of course, Higgins' promises all fell through, but those tantalizing images led me into his doorstep, and now I am only left with his deceit.
I want a little kindness. I know I'm a common ignorant fool and you a book-learned gentleman, but I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly-like.
Well, of course, that's just how I feel, and how Pickering feels. Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not the proper answer to give to me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you'll have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time sniveling over you and the other half giving you black eyes. You can't stand the coldness of my sort of life and the strain of it. Go back to the gutter. Work until you are more of a brute than a human being. And then cuddle and squabble and drink until you fall asleep. Oh, it's a fine life, the life of the gutter. It's real, it's warm, it's violent. You can feel it through the thickest skin. You can taste it and smell it without any training or work. Not like science or literature, classical music and philosophy and art. You find me cold, unfeeling, selfish, don't you? Very well off. Off with you, and the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental hog or some other with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you with and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you're a cruel tyrant.
I was so angry. But now looking back, he's right. The whole reason I began my deceit was to escape that horrid, warm, violent, brutish life. I was wrong to be ungrateful for his help, but I was confused and unsure now that the world had so suddenly opened up to me. I should have listened to Mrs. Higgins or Mrs. Pierce, who foresaw this problem 6 months before.
I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending that I could. You think I must go back to Wimpole Street because I've nowhere else to go but my father's? But don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet. to be trampled and talked down. I'll marry Freddie, I will, as soon as he is able to support me.
Rubbish. You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry Governor General of India or the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, somebody who wants to be Deputy Queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that? But I haven't forgotten what you said a minute ago, and I won't be coaxed round as if I were a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We're all dependent on one another, every soul of us on the earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
What'll you teach, in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics.
Ha ha ha.
I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Neopine.
What? That impostor, that humbug, that toadying ignoramus, teach him my methods, my discoveries? You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck.
Ring away, why do I care? I knew you'd strike me someday. Aha! Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was not to think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. You said I had a finer ear than you, and I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can. Aha! That's done you, Henry Higgins, it has. Now I don't care for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers, that your Duchess is only a flower girl, and that you taught, and she'll teach anybody to be a Duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. And when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names, when all the time I'd only to lift a finger and be as good as you, I could just kick myself.
I won't lie. I felt so happy when I finally managed to tick him off, that I knew how to deal with him. He was also bad-tempered and moody, but after I threatened to use his work on me against me, he was livid. I felt so powerful with my new knowledge, and this was when I realized that I liked my new, stronger, smarter self.
You damned independent slut, you! But it's better than sniveling. Better than fetching slippers and finding spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes, you turn around and make up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago you were like a millstone round my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a consort battleship. You and I, Pickering, will be the 3 old bachelors together, instead of 2 men and a silly girl. The carriage is waiting! Eliza, are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He cannot behave himself in a church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear. Goodbye, mother. Goodbye, mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8, and a tie to match the new suit of mine, at Ale and Vinman's. You can choose the color.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled that girl, Henry, but never mind, dear, I'll buy you the tying gloves. Oh, don't bother. She'll buy him all right enough. Bye.
I was even more amazed that Higgins liked the new me too. Suddenly I was glad that I had deceived myself at the start. If young Eliza had known that her personality and how she perceived the world would change, she would have been scared witless. But I think that changing my accent and deceiving gentlemen and dukes made me a tower of strength and showed me that what distinguished each class was very arbitrary, conversation topics and slang, and evaluating myself to their level made me strong. I don't know now if I'll go back to Wimple Street. Higgins is right. I don't need men to snivel over me.